Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. So, Carlos Carrión, I'm working on the remodeling of the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium, home of Real Madrid. We are, as you probably all know, a football club. We play in our stadium in Madrid, and we planned kind of 10 years ago the remodeling of the old stadium built in 1947. The main topics that we want to cover were simply uh, how to design this new facility or redesign this facility, which is what was going to be the right position and concept for the new stadium, the business model, both match day and non-match day, the full income potential, and the operational model. So basic questions related to one of the basic income streams at a football club. The final decision was basically to use mobile-based data, public transportation data, payment and transaction in the area, and socioeconomic data from public and private sources in order to understand with our own data which were the people attending the stadium on a match day and non-match day, and the full potential of that business line, as I mentioned before, for I mean, probably counting for a third of our overall income. So we wanted to answer very simple questions: uh, how to do it, how to undertake a more than 600 million euros remodeling with the appropriate data, how many people and how much were they going to spend in the area and for which reasons, from where those attendants will be coming, are were all of them to come from Madrid, from the region, from Spain, from Europe, from all over the world. We finally had a very clear answer using data analysis and insights from basically Carto and different data sources that allow us to understand that more than 55% of our visitors were from abroad, from outside of Spain, and more than half of them from outside of Europe. When, if they were going to visit us in the morning, in the afternoon, or the evening, just for a visit, for a tour, to attend a match or a concert, to eat in one of the restaurants at the stadium, and have a maximum of data on each one of them in order to personalize the visit, so personalize the experience. What we used, as I mentioned before, was Carto to understand the behavior and the patterns of those visitors, and uh, make a full assessment on the redesign of the stadium, and to boost the whole area, as we were thinking on a district, on an entertainment district, and not just a football stadium. Just to give you some hints, when we talk of a football stadium in Europe, it's a facility that is used basically 30 days maximum per year, which means that you have the full facility empty the remaining days of the year. So we were thinking on using that remodeling in order to completely change the business model and the operation of the stadium, and make it available 365 days per year. The only way to do it is to understand if there were appetite, if there were any interest from the visitors of Madrid to uh, attend the stadium for other reason different from a football match. So that's why we use those data. We work on very different origin maps, from total visitors, comparing match days and non-match days, the total visitors on both match days and non-match days, the total visitors per time slots or by time slots, the comparison by time slots, the income and spend of those visitors per categories on match days and non-match days. So who were exactly those persons attending the stadium, and which were the reasons behind their visit. The comparison also of the patterns to access matches and non-matches. Transit maps in order to make a clear difference from the persons going through the area of the stadium for simply because they were neighbors or living up there or working there, to the ones visiting the stadium for whatever reason. And also crossing those transit data with socio-demographic, both of match days and non-match days. With data from hotels, data from consumptions in the area, traffic, transportation, etc. At the end, what we got were very basic informations that lead us to understand who were those visitors, were that ratio, from where in Madrid they were coming, if we were capturing traffic from other tourist destinations in the city, if there were a right choice or the primary choice from visitors, if all those travelers were direct. I mean, how many of them were just traveling to Madrid to visit Bernabeu for whatever reason? Also, the pattern of access to matches. I mean, where were the hot spots around the stadium? Where we will find problems in order to access or evacuate the stadium? How many of those people were going to make transactions in the area, and which kind of transactions they did? So at the end, coming back to the basic information, what we had is a very solid set of data that help us to understand which kind of business model was the right one. So today we are at 60% finally of the final remodeling work on the construction area, which means that we are roughly 16 to 18 months away from the opening. During that time, we continue to play matches at the stadium, which represents a very important challenge in terms of the operation, both of the construction work and the operation of the match day. In between, we finally arrived to the conclusion that we have an unexplored potential for non-match days events that were not in the core of our previous activity, and we were not be able to arrive to that conclusion without the appropriate data and the appropriate spatial data. So understanding what happens around the area was key to make a full assessment on the new stadium infrastructure and business model and operational model. This was all before pandemics. So we are counting on exploring future through a very aggressive model that will link social demographic data, financial data, demographics, telco data. I mean, everything coming from mobile-based data, and also modeling how this close. I mean, the near future is going to be in for mass shows as football match and the attendance to those massive shows. This is the place in which we are right now. I mean, trying to figure out if the behavior of people is going to be in 2022. So by the opening of the stadium, end of 2022, beginning of 2023, it's going to be the one that we predicted back in 2019, or it's going to be different.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your presentation, Carlos.
My pleasure. I don't know if there is any question or any doubt that the audience might have on this particular
But I do have a quick one out of my own curiosity. With all these analyses where you're looking at mobility and things like that, and within different situations and scenarios in the city, what was the impact of COVID on looking at these patterns and trends?
let's say that just to give you a quick data, we came from 80,000 in average visitors per day on non-match day to roughly zero all of a sudden in 3 months. Then we recovered to roughly 10% of that amount. We were at 1/3 by the end of last year, and now we are roughly between 60 to 70% of the pre-COVID traffic.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time. If anyone does have